it wasn't a vintage Brazil performance considering the high level they've set down their history, but we have to pay credit to them. They did the job in the second half, didn't they? Came right back into the game.
Absolutely, and I think for this team and possibly for the next 4 or 5 years, we have to put the old history of what Brazil have to one side because they play a different brand of football. It's very pragmatic. They make changes now, and we called it at half-time, and not to give ourselves a pat on the back too much, but it looked like a very simple game plan. Move from left to right, take your players on 1v1, but most importantly, put crosses in the box, make these Japanese defenders defend. And as soon as they did that, the goals came. Vinicius, as soon as they scored the goal, by the way, everyone then wanted the ball. So you just have to start saying, was there a pressure element there as well? Because Vinicius Jr., we never seen him until about the 60th minute. And as soon as we see him, he's nutmegging, he's going because he's trying to get the crowd up now because it's 1-1 and he feels he can be the hero. Ultimately, ended up being Martinelli. But it was a good game. Thought Japan held themselves well, and they'll be thinking this will be the World Cup of what if for Japan. What if our players weren't injured and were fully fit? What if we was able to really have a strong depth squad to take this Brazil side on? Because Brazil looked average for today for a large parts of it.
I think, Nigel, Brazil knew that Japan were going to play quite defensive in the second half. In the end, that proved to be the way. They were going to try and hold on to a 1-0 win all the way through to the end. And Brazil ultimately, especially once they got the first goal, were able to find those gaps in the second half that they couldn't in the first half.
Yeah, it's just to really add to what Troy said. He's right. They played with a lot more confidence in the second half. But from a nation like Brazil, that same confidence is what they should have started with in the first half. And you do wonder if there's an element of pressure now starting to build up and really are these players embracing the pressure or starting to really feel the pressure? Because the confidence they played with the second half is what we expect from Brazil in every single game, regardless of the opponents. But you don't want to take nothing away from Japan. I think Japan were fantastic in what they did. I don't question their approach. I think their approach was great because they're playing to the strengths that they have of the players that they have available. And if this was a Japan side with Matoma available and Endo available, I would say just to the performance we saw from Brazil, I would have favoured Japan to go through if they had those quality players available. And for Japan now to make that kick to that next step, they need a few more Matomas, a few more players in the attacking sense that can take that game to the next level and get that goal and that real super threat, because that's all they were lacking. Brazil grew in confidence. They started to grind them down. They moved the ball quicker. They were doing the switch of play quicker and putting a lot more crosses in the box and creating chaos. And as much as you want to be defensively organised, you don't want to defend for 90 minutes. I don't care how good a defender you are. You do not want to defend for 90 minutes. There's times in the game where you want to rest with the ball. You're going to want to be brave on the ball and play and you know, slow it down a bit. It's not fun to defend for 90 minutes, no matter what level you play at.
Cello, how close to, considering the squad they've got and the players they have on the pitch and then on the subs, how close to the top level was this for Brazil? You're still a long way off?
No, listen, I think every team, when you get to this point, they feel the pressure, okay? No matter who you are, you have that pressure. Brazil has the pressure to win the World Cup. And so they came out a little nervous. They came out a little tentative, which is normal in a game like this. But I would think they're pretty close to putting their best team out. I mean, the second half, to me, is a team that needs to start. That team came out with energy. They came out with movement. And that's what you want to see from Brazil. The first half of Brazil was almost like feeling, you know, the Japanese out, just trying to see what's going on. They got the goal scored against them. And the second half, I felt like we saw Brazil. A little bit more movement, Vinny going at people one-on-one. They, you know, Martinelli with a great, he's in position, he's in between the center back and the wing back to get the final goal. So I looked at this and I thought this was probably the best 45 minutes I've seen Brazil in this World Cup.
OK, let's get some more insight from Brazil perspective. Speak to former Brazil midfielder Lucas Leiva. Lucas, great to chat to you. As Cello was saying there, obviously the expectation from Brazil, they've done it 5 times before, is to win the World Cup. Did that fill you with positivity, that performance?
Yes, well, the pressure is really high and everybody expects that. I think first half, I agree with you all, what you said. I think it was the ball, they didn't move the ball quick enough. They didn't cross the ball, and it was really difficult to break Japan defense. Second half, they came with a different approach, putting a lot of crosses in, and with Hendrick coming on and Martinelli later on, I think it was it gave something extra to Brazil, but I'm really excited. I'm sorry, guys. We scored the last minute goal, and of course, it's a lot of things to be done yet. Still to win the World Cup, but I think second half it was great from Brazil. Didn't concede much, and moved the ball quicker. So and it was clear that they needed to put some more crosses.
Lucas, lovely to see you again and speak to you again, old chap. My question is this. What's the feeling like in Brazil when you talk about for me, I think there's still a lack of creativity in this Brazil side, real creativity from the old foundation of Brazilian football that we've seen. What's the feeling like amongst Brazilians?
Listen, even in Brazil, we talk about, the legends that we have in the game, the Ronaldinhos, the Kaká and Ronaldos, but this time is gone. We have to accept that. We have to understand that and try to build a team. Of course, we have some very good players. Creativity is something that is missing. It was missing in the first half, especially. It's something that Ancelotti will have to work through because teams will defend deep against Brazil, and they will have to find a way. I think today they adapt. I don't think Brazil is a team that crossed too much in this style that they are playing now, but they had to do it, and it's not ugly to accept, and do different things. And then the goal came from across, the Casemiro equalizer. So. Yeah, I think Brazil needs more creativity, but needs to find the best way to give, these players to create more, a chance to create more.
Lucas, just thinking back to our conversation last time, there was a little bit of a nervous, not sure of how this tournament would go. Obviously, the pressure to win the World Cup is always there for Brazil. As the games pass and the wins keep coming, are you more and more confident you can make a deep run, or are you still a little bit apprehensive?
I'm a little bit apprehensive, I have to say, especially after the first half. I think Brazil needs to have a full 90 minutes in the highest level, for everyone to believe a little bit more. But listen, it's great to win, especially the way it was. Brazil is growing, like you said, in the second half it was a lot better. And we just hope that they keep growing and winning. But you never know. World Cup, there is, always a little bit of luck as well. And Brazil will need that as well.
Looking at the first half and second half, the way they played, now you get into the next game. Do you look at a few of the players that played in the second half, maybe starting that game? And is he starting his best 11 Brazilians?
I don't think we're going to see too many changes, to be honest. The question will be Lucas Paqueta, if he's injured or he just came out, as a precaution or was a tactical change. I don't see Ancelotti changing a lot. Endrick is always a big debate, should he start or not. But thinking what Ancelotti is doing as well, he's trying to find a balance as well defensively. So I don't see him making so many changes, but you're right. Martinelli and Endrick, they had a great impact on the game. But I still think that Ancelotti will keep that first 11 unless Lucas Paqueta he got some injury. Casemiro came out as well, feeling a little bit. We don't know if it's serious or not. So, but if everybody's fit, I think he will stick with the same starting 11 that it was today.
Lucas, one of the big talking points concerning Brazil coming into the tournament was the lack of an out-and-out striker, a number 9, apart from Igor Thiago, and he didn't play particularly well in the first game, did he, against Morocco? He's obviously had Cunha in that position up until now, and he scored 3 goals, so he's done pretty well. But as they move into the tournament, the further into the knockout stages, is the lack of a proper striker going to hurt them against bigger teams?
Like I said, the times of Ronaldo, Adriano, and Romario are gone. So we need to find a solution. Cunha did pretty well against Scotland today. It was a different game. They were playing really deep, so Cunha didn't find himself on the space that he wanted. I thought Igor Thiago would come on, for the crosses, and Endrick, of course, came on. it's of course you would want a proper number 9, but it's not something that we can change now. So we have just to go with what we have, and I think we have enough. They are fantastic players, but they are not Ronaldo, so they have to find a way to not rely on only 1 or 2 players.
Just a quick one, Lucas, just moving this conversation forward. Who would you prefer to see Brazil play with the style of play? Ivory Coast or Norway?
It's a good question. I think Ivory Coast is a very dangerous team. They attack, a lot. I think for Brazil style of play, Ivory Coast would suit more because it would be more an open game. And of course, Norway, they have one of the best striker in the world, if not the best. So I would prefer Ivory Coast, but no disrespect with Ivory Coast. I just think the way they play, the style that would leave a little bit more space for Brazil to attack, and that's because we saw today that how difficult it was to break Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting comment. Great stuff, Lucas.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
right.
We'll speak to you soon here on Golazo Matchday 48 Nations. What do you think about that?
I think he's right. I think he's
Really?
absolutely right, yeah. He's talking about it tactically. He's talking about like the teams like Brazil, teams like England struggle against teams that sit in a low block and give you a load of the ball.
Yeah.
What he's saying is Ivory Coast, while they are very good, they play one way, which is attacking. We saw in the Germany game. They were very, very good. They were the better team in the Germany game, but just didn't handle the moments because it's still a young team. And they didn't handle those moments. Germany get the 2 goals late. They end up winning the game. So I think tactically what he's saying is correct. He wants a team that
But
goes
surely
against
you'd be wary of
I
any
understand
team that's
that,
got
but I
Erling
would
Haaland,
gladly
right?
disagree with that for me. I think you'd want to face a Norway than an Ivory Coast, in my opinion, from what I've seen so far of Norway. I understand the Erling Haaland situation and with Erling Haaland, and now Norway is struggling in that right-back position as well now without a real recognised right-back. You talk about Odegaard. I think Ivory Coast are a way more dangerous opponent for Brazil, and especially Brazil.
He's not
I understand the tactical. I'm just saying, no, that's his opinion. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I would just say, for me, I think it would be better for Brazil to face a Norway than it is an Ivory Coast. Because Ivory Coast only lost that Germany game as well because they were
I'm going neutral. I think both teams at this stage of the game are going to be difficult to play against. You've got 2 different tactics. If you want, Ivory Coast could open it up, and with their pace, they could be very dangerous. Defending, not as great as the Japanese, but going forward, they could be a lot more dangerous. On the other hand, when you look at Norway, you're going to see a team that will drop off. They will. We saw it against Senegal. They dropped off. They defended. Haaland dropped into the midfield. Play off Haaland. He holds it up. He brings the midfield. Then they finally attack. So I think both teams will be very difficult. There's not one or the other, and especially if Casemiro's hurt. You're starting to look at injuries now. So I don't see any easy game because you saw how nervous Brazil played today, the first 45. That's the most, I guess, safest I could say I've seen them play in a while. Not taking risks. The second half, it opened up more. So I feel that either one of those teams, they both have abilities that can beat Brazil, and that could be dangerous.
What about Japan? They've obviously had a good World Cup so far. I think they've captured the attention of a lot of people who didn't necessarily expect them to do that much. One of those dangerous dark horse teams. How frustrated will they be? They had this game. They scored the first goal. They were winning, and they've gone out in recent World Cups in this kind of fashion. They've never won a knockout game. How frustrated will their fans be?
I think they're frustrated only because they have a good group, and if they had the 4 players, I think this team could have beat Brazil today. But I think you have to look at, just at the end, when Casemiro goes down, they pan out, and you see all the Japanese players with their hands on the knees. That's the kind of effort they had to give today, and they almost pulled it off. So I think they should be very proud of what they've done and what they did today. They dragged it up until the 93rd minute, 94th minute. And again, you make a mistake defensively against a team. Trust me, we made a mistake in 94 against Brazil, and it cost us a 1-0. They made a mistake. They didn't mark Martinelli. He was put in between a great space between the center back and the wing back. He finished it. But they should be very proud of themselves. They've had a very good World Cup, especially when you're missing 4 key players that would have been starters.
Nigel, did they get it wrong in the second half, being quite so defensive and just trying to sit on a 1-0 lead, or is that what you would have done if you were the man?
I would have done the same thing. I don't think that I would have questioned them tactically, because obviously you still know the quality that you're facing in Brazil and the players that they have. I think it's a bit of both. You know, they're frustrated, yes, because they've been there before, and it's about making that next step. It's about the progression aspect of it. But at the same time, it's the reality of you're missing 4 of your best players, and you're talking about 2 of their most influential players in this squad right now. And for a game like this, and I know I've said it before, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but these are the type of games where you need a Matoma. Someone who's got that special thing about him in an attacking sense, who could make things happen for them, score goals, create goals. We know how much of a talented player he is. He would have been a difference maker. He would have still sown that seed of doubt or nervousness in that Brazilian defence, but they didn't have it. They played to the strengths of the players that they had available in that moment. So it's a bit of both. It's a bit of real frustration because we've been there before. We want to show progression. We want to show we can make it to that next step. And they came so close again. But then again, it's a reality check of as poor as Brazil is, they've still got those players. You talk about Martinelli, back foot control, right foot into that far corner. That's what good teams can do with you, even without putting a full 90 minutes performance. They've still got the individual players who can just put the game to bed.
I think as well, Endo is a big miss just because what they didn't have in the second half, and Nigel could talk to this a little bit, you need a midfielder that can control the tempo. So when the games get a little bit out of hand and it becomes a bit of a basketball match, so midfielder that goes, OK, I'll have it, lend it 1 or 2 times, take the sting out of the game. Yeah. And then also on the flip side, there's a few times they hit on the counter-attack and it just didn't have that quality to then find the final pass. And sometimes that comes from a midfielder on the edge of the box, wrapping one into the midfield and then into the forward, and say, look after it. But when you think back to that last goal, they actually turned the ball over themselves again.
Right on the edge of the box.
Right on the edge of the box, they turned it over. So for me, I think that, yes, Matoma is massive for them in terms of ball carrying and outlet, but also Endo, just having that little bit of calm in there. And these are guys that play at the top level in the Premier League. So, you know, this is slight progression. It won't feel like massive progression because remember, before the World Cup, they just beat England in a friendly, which I was at, and they were comfortable. They looked very good. And even I was saying, when I remember speaking to you, Nigel, when I came back, I was like, hey, these could be a dark horse. They're very impressive.
There was a lot of feeling in Japan that this was finally the group that would break that duck of never winning a knockout match at a World Cup. We've got some great comments coming in. Do keep them coming in on YouTube. One a few ago that we just showed.
Before this goalkeeper.
OK, well, we'll reflect on that in a second. But before this one said that he feels that this is the most difficult team that Brazil are going to face all the way up until the semis. If you look at the rest of the draw, Cello, and this is, this has happened before to Japan, hasn't it? 2018, losing to Belgium, I think, was a very late goal that got them there. They lost in penalties to Croatia in 2022, and now another late goal. Speaking to that comment, Cello, we've seen some of the other bigger nations. When you look at the round of 32 draw, they've got what you would say on paper is a fairly easy game. Brazil did not have an easy game here. Could that work in Brazil's favour? They've actually had a test going into these later rounds. Would you rather play someone better at this stage?
No, I think you want to keep building.
Right.
You know, I mean, you want to keep building through the World Cup. You don't want a Morocco, Holland. I mean, I wouldn't want that my first round game. You're playing, you know, I mean, you're playing Morocco if you're Holland. So, no, I think it's a good test for Brazil. I think they came through today. The second half, they showed a little bit more of who we want to see, more energy. I think that's what everybody's looking for, a little bit more creativity, more movement, everything you want. So I look at that, and I mean, those are tough teams.
Bad
Japan
beats,
lost to. That's tough. When you look at Belgium, Croatia, you lose it, you're lucky in penalties. It's a crapshoot sometimes. But I think you walk out of here, if you're Japan, you're very happy. And if you're Brazil, you see the light at the end of the tunnel because of the fact that 45 minutes, that was good. That was good on behalf of Brazil, knocking it. I love the way they adapted. Like Luke said, they're putting more crosses into the box.
Yeah, and that's what
this is what you were saying in the first half, wasn't it?
Yeah, and again, you can see the momentum chart at the bottom. Obviously, Brazil being the green, so they had a lot more momentum in the second half. But the big thing for me was the crosses. 28 crosses in the second half. They realised very quickly, and this speaks to Carlo Ancelotti's management. How many managers now are so stuck in their ways and go, right, we've got to build? He understood we're just better physically in the air. We've got bigger players and we've got the quality in the wide area. So let's just keep doing it. They got a little bit of success, and obviously the first goal comes from that, and then they just kept doing it. And that sometimes is the hardest thing. When you're being successful, just to keep doing it. Everyone wants to just play this new way now. I think back to the US's first game in this competition. When,
Careful.
No, when they did it really, really well against Paraguay.
Did you hear that? Really well, he said.
I know.
Really,
when the eights were running in behind the fullbacks, and they just kept doing it. And you were like, Paraguay, come on, can you not see this? Adjust.
Yeah.
And Paraguay didn't make the adjustment. And then, obviously, America went on to win that game comfortably. So, you know, they're going home soon, but you got to give them credit.
But that's what the best managers do, though. Now, we talk about football now. We've been in the game for so long. We've got so much experience in reading how a game flows as a player. And for me, you could see what's happening. Sometimes you do have to take the individual moments to say, right, we've got more big physical players. Let's get crosses in the box, because that's something that would be making very uncomfortable, and something can happen. You don't always have to score the most perfect goal. And to Troy's point that he said earlier as well about a midfielder in Japan, that's what they're lacking in the second half. You look at Brazil, when Casemiro came off, they bring on Fabinho.
Yeah.
And what does he do? Gets on the ball, but he gives it on a different set, where for Brazil, they're chasing that goal and trying to get that winner. So he's increasing the tempo. He gets it, miss that next man out and go straight out wide. You go straight out wide, you can have a more quicker attacking phase. So there's different elements to the type of different midfielders you bring in.
And he had a big impact, didn't he, in the first game against Morocco? They were struggling in that game. He came on
in
and he turned
midfield,
it.
and that's it. And that's what Japan were lacking in the control element of staying in the game.
Chelo, we've spoken about from the Brazil perspective of playing Ivory Coast or Norway. If they were watching that, how were they feeling about a way to maybe get past Brazil?
Oh, Ivory Coast?
Well, either of them.
Oof. Listen, I think that when you look at Brazil, their biggest weakness for me is defensively in transition. They don't defend well in transition. So I think if you're Ivory Coast, you're looking at, okay, how could defending is first. Championships when you're defending. But when I look at that, I'm looking, okay, wing play is going to be key. How quick can we get to the wings? How quick can we isolate ourselves one-on-one? So Brazil, if you're looking at Ivory Coast, you got to say to yourself, okay, we got to be careful on counterattacks. We got to be ready in transition because they're going to come at us. We've got to make sure that we've got cover behind each other, because one-on-one pace is pretty darn good on Ivory Coast. That's why I have them reaching what?
You went semis.
Semis beating England. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Hey, if I know Troy Deeney like I know Troy, I know what Troy's answer is going to be. Troy's answer is going to be, to beat Brazil, you control the midfield. Brazil's weakest area is their midfield. If you control the midfield, you will beat Brazil, because all these players at this international level now, you're mostly going to face pace. Don't get me wrong, Vinicius Jr., quick players, great players, no problem. But they don't have a Messi. That's the difference in Brazil. They don't have that real creative element like a Messi. But if you want to beat Brazil, their midfield. You control the game in midfield, you'll beat Brazil. Am I right, Troy?
Is Nige speaking for you or not?
No, he tries to do it every time. But no, half of it's right. Again, with Casemiro going down as well. But I do think you can do that, the midfield's there. But just the biggest part is we haven't actually seen Brazil defensively tested since the Morocco game. The first half in the Morocco game, they looked very average. Morocco could have been 2 or 3 up. Maybe they've tweaked it. But I think to the two players, Norway and Ivory Coast, what's their biggest strength? Pace and power in the forward areas. So now let's see, as it gets a little bit more developed on, you're not got that control in midfield now because potentially losing Casemiro. So you lose that pivot. Fabinho, Wally is fantastic. Obviously, he has been playing in the Saudi League and he's got older, right, over the time. So let's see now. There's a reason why he's not starting. So let's see if he gets into a transitional game, because Vinicius Jr. wants a transitional game. But if I'm Ivory Coast or Norway, I'm saying, OK, let's play.
I don't think there'll be a fair factor from Ivory Coast or Norway. I think that they'll be looking at this Brazil side, like we're being very honest to say as well, is this is not the Brazil of old. Lucas just even said it himself. This is not the Brazil of old. This is a Brazil that is not invincible. We can beat them. So both those nations should go into this game confident and not even looking at themselves.
Is Nigel spokesperson now? Is that a new thing?
Basically, I think he's just trying to get paid double. So he's talking more. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
He's realised he can get through a segment without messing up Lucas's name.
Pretend someone else's opinion.
There we go.
All right. Welcome back to Golazo Matchday 48 Nations. This was the scene in Orlando, Florida at the watch party as that winning goal went in. The Brazilian fans there absolutely delighted to see their team, the Seleção, through to the round of 16 at the World Cup. And our man Nico Cantor is right there in Orlando. He was in the crowd enjoying the game. And Nico, just quickly, Nigel just said that apparently you're about, what, 5 minutes away from where he used to live. Does his reputation precede him?
Guys, I was walking through the crowd of Brazilians. They saw the CBS Sports microphone. I said, you work with Nigel Reo-Coker? Oh, good luck, man.
Well, I'm surprised they didn't say who's Nigel Reo-Coker.
That's a lie, Nico. That's an absolute lie, but it's okay.
No.
I see you got your energy back. That's all I'm happy about.
So how was the game?
They know Nigel. He's not famous. He's infamous.
There we go.
Hey, you got some Scottish fans behind you. It looks like. Tell them Scotland have gone home.
I do. They're everywhere, man. They love to party, and even though they're gone, they want to be with the Brazilians as well, bro.
Talking of love to party, we saw those Brazil fans celebrating when the goal went in. What was the atmosphere like there throughout the game? Were they a little bit worried about after the first half?
Yeah, I think a lot of people suffered throughout the game, and after 90 minutes, this is the release a little bit, you know? Brazil at times didn't look good in the first 45 minutes. Japan looked great. They were controlling at times the match. But then Carlo and Ancelotti, like you guys were analyzing before in the previous segment, switched it up and gave Brazil a new lease on life, especially in this game. A new approach, and they ended up winning. Japan, heartbreaking. They have gone, check every single World Cup elimination over the last 3 or 4 World Cups. It has been agonizing defeat. And Brazil has just handed them their newest heartbreaking defeat. And Brazil walks to the next round, and here in Orlando, one of the biggest communities of Brazilians is present, and they are happy that their team has qualified for the next round.
Yeah, Nico, I was just about to ask you that, because I know you're Floridian and you're from down south. Are you surprised at how big the Brazilian community is in Central Florida?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, we always do it, right? There are 2 clubs, Orlando Pride, Orlando City, have a foundation of Brazilians. And who better to explain it, not just a Miamian, but someone who lives in Orlando who is Brazilian. My friend Rafael, muito prazer. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good?
Nice to meet you.
Talk to me a little bit about the Brazilian community here in Orlando and what all of this means to you.
So, we are huge here. We are everywhere. You're going to find us pretty much everywhere. It's good because even though we're in the U.S., we feel like home. So we don't miss our food, we don't miss our language, we don't miss our people. So it's great living this, you know. World Cup wouldn't be the same.
I mean, if you close your eyes or you just showed somebody a picture of this, you would think you're in Brazil. It feels like the culture here in Brazil is very much alive.
It is. We are a very united community, and we make sure that we have our stuff. We're very proud of ourselves, you know.
And nothing unites Brazilians more than football. And here at the World Cup, watching your team, what does it mean for Brazil to play at this tournament in the United States and have it bring together so many Brazilians?
It is amazing because it doesn't matter where we are, we still have our hearts in Brazil. So we're always going to cheer for our team no matter where we go. I even brought my shirt from Brazil, so we are going to cheer and support our team everywhere, no matter where we go.
Nice.
Nico.
Incredible. Rafaela, listen, one last question from me. I imagine you were very young the last time that Brazil won the World Cup in 2002. What would it mean? Maybe we could say you might not even remember it. What would it mean for you and all of your friends and family for Brazil to add a 6th star to that crest?
It would be amazing because now I can watch all the games and cheer and yell. So it would be great to see us win. I would feel so proud.
Muito obrigado. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Woo!
So Brazilians are very happy, guys. The community is very vibrant here. It's happy. It's amazing. You know, it's maybe here in New Jersey, most Brazilians in the United States, at one point today in the watch party, you close your eyes and you just hear the sounds. You thought you were in the middle of Rio.
Nico, is there any worry, though, about, you know, the fact they struggled a bit in the first half, didn't they, to get past Japan, that maybe this team isn't quite as good as what we've seen in previous Brazil sides, that they're going to come undone against a slightly better team?
Yeah, I do think you saw a little bit of that. Beyond the euphoria, right? And we talked to a lot of people, and the euphoria just takes control of you sometimes when you're giving interviews on camera. But the people who had those decibel levels in their voice a little bit brought down and they came back to reality, they were a little wary. They treaded closely saying that Brazil was going to win the World Cup. But, of course, Brazil is Brazil, and anything can happen. And we've seen many more surprises in football. Who's to say that the most winning team in the history of the World Cup won't win the World Cup again? Of course, they have to improve. They need to work on a lot of things. And the people who are a little bit more find their bearings in reality a little bit more are the ones that see that Brazil needs to improve. But it's a first step. World Cups, you're playing from least to greatest, and Brazil is taking a stride forward today.
Nico, first and foremost, I'm great to see you got your energy back after being with your family, having a great time, and claiming it as work. That is amazing that you've been able to do that. But in all seriousness, I want to know one thing. You had an Argentinian barbecue yesterday. I had a lot of South Americans message me saying that the Brazilians do barbecue the best. So can you answer that question for me, please?
I can't agree with that. And Troy, would you call me a cultured guy?
No.
Absolutely.
Listen, I mean, you got Marcelo Balboa right next to you, and Marcelo Balboa is very cultured. I mean, Argentine barbecue for me takes the cake. There's a lot of things that Brazilians do much better than Argentines. Trust me, I know what they do better than Argentines, but barbecue is not one of them.
Okay, interesting.
There you go.
You had any kebe out there,
Although respect for Brazilian barbecue, respect for Brazilian barbecue.
Picanha.
Nico, you had any kebe?
Picanha on the swords.
Listen.
Yeah, they do really well.
I just want to
I love Brazilian barbecue, don't get me wrong, but not better than Argentina.
one more question. Obviously, it's a party atmosphere, as you can see behind you, with all the scenery that you've got there. When Japan scored, how quiet did it go?
Mute. You know, like the worry entered everybody, and in the bar outside, there was tension in the air. You could feel that there was a catastrophe looming, and they managed to pick it back up. Second half was very quick. It was very obvious that momentum had shifted, but the tension was palpable. It's been a while, since 2002, since Brazil hasn't flipped a deficit in a knockout stage at a World Cup to go on to win, and that was against England.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
So pretty historic.
Last question, guys.
Well done.
Nico, how many caparinas have you had?
Oh, Lord.
Una, duas, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, sete.
Good stuff, Nico. Cheers. We'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, lad.
Enjoy the rest of the day there.
Bye, guys. I'll send you a picture of my eighth caipirinha.
Amazing
Okay, time for a
Brazilian
short
cocktail.
break here on Golazo Match Day. 48 nations. We've got plenty more coming up for you.